This is an extension of the extra point for week number 5. We had a very spirited conversation yesterday, and I was really feeling it. And I think we always do rankings, but I think the big thing about it is that we try to wait. I think the argument was that like you can't really tell who anybody is through the first 3 or 4 weeks. So we decided to drop ours right before the FHSAA drops theirs. That determines like the playoff seating and the different uh, I would say the different rankings that the state uses to be able to determine positioning at the end of the year. So we're just kind of going to go ahead and double dutch our way on in with ours. And I think instead of just releasing a graphic, we definitely had to talk about it, get a discussion going instead of just throwing something up on Instagram. But I'm excited to jump into this. We argued for a little bit. We agreed and disagreed. I think our number 1 through 2 or 3 is still the same, but gentlemen, we're gonna stand on business today. So let's go ahead without further ado. For me, I really just look at it as just a disclaimer. None of this matters. It's just to create discussion. So hopefully nobody takes this the wrong way. But if you do, you know where to find us. We're down here in the lower left-hand corner. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to go ahead and talk about mine first. I took some time. I've seen a lot of football, way more than I expected, but it's been fun for right now. And my thing is that this is going to change, but for right now, this is what I got. I'm going Mosley in the top spot, followed by Lincoln, and this could flip flop at any moment. Both teams are really solid, but man, Mosley is hitting on a different level. They have playmakers all over the field, and I really like Lincoln's defense. I think they're elite as well, but I'm putting Mosley in the top spot, followed by the Trojans. Then I got Gaston County. I think this could have been a really hard argument if it weren't for the recent setback they had at Coffee County. But man, this team, I've seen them up close and in person, along with Lincoln, and man, this team is ferocious in all 3 phases of the game. Really like what Coach Ellington has put together. This group, again, could be vying for the top spot, depending on how things shake out. Number 4, it might be a surprise to some, but not to me. But Taylor County, man, they're doing big things down there in Perry, Florida. Really like what Coach Braswell has been able to put together this season. Again, playmakers all over the field. We get a new nominee for Player of the Week or Top Performer Award. And it seems like they got a different guy stepping up in a monumental way. So, man, I'm putting the Bulldogs down there in the 4th spot, followed by Madison County. They're still the Cowboys. Don't sleep on them. I definitely think they had that setback against Lincoln, but I liked what I saw still with their remaining games going down the stretch and what I've seen in their other games. They just go out there and find a way to handle business. After that, I have Mariana. Man, this ground game and Amari Clemens is just something fierce. Don't sleep on their defense. The Bulldogs are out, man, really to make some noise as a playoff contender this year. Up next, I got Chipley, undefeated. They're going to be the team, one of the teams to beat in the rural division. I definitely like, man, the way Coach Buchanan has kind of mixed and matched a lot of his playmakers. They're just playing solid ball right now. Followed by the Rickards Raiders. This team here, I look at the offensive production, but man, this defense just shines every game. They find a way to get it done. As long as they don't let some of these teams creep up on them, I think they got a real shot to make some noise in the playoffs as well. Followed by Cottondale. You can't say enough about this 1-2 punch of Odom and Garrett. Man, the defense is playing sound football, and again, might be a surprise to some, but not to us, because watching them play, they are absolutely lethal. I got Bluntstown after that. Tigers could have been a little bit higher, but they haven't played but only a pair of games. So I felt like that was fair, but the Tigers look good and they're undefeated. They should be well rested going into the remainder of the schedule. I got Arnold coming in later after that. For the Marlins, for the most part, for the Marlins, I really like the way that they've been able to kind of put together what seems to be a determined senior-led class that's really getting the job done. Again, had a slip up the previous week against South Walton, but not taking anything away from the boys down on the beach. Then I got Wakulla. This is a young team, but very, very talented. They took Taylor County down to the wire. It was probably the most entertaining game that's been played so far this season. They're going to be back to form. I look for them to move up in the next couple of weeks. After that, I got the Blue Devils playing solid ball right now. One of the things about this particular team that I like, they're not pulling any punches. It doesn't matter. They lined up against Rutherford the previous week and didn't hold back, and they took home the victory. I look for them to move up as well. For the 14th spot, I got McClay. I really like the way the Marauders have been playing. They knocked off a former state champion. Anytime you can do that, that's gonna turn some heads. They're playing, I would say, really good ball defensively. They kind of have a bend, don't break. I look at them as being one of those teams that could easily move up. But again, looking at how they played against Marianne, I think that was their only loss on the year. This team still has a lot of firepower on both sides of the ball. After that, I'm rounding out the list with Florida High. Seminoles are creeping on the come up. Don't worry about the record, 2-2 for right now. They just knocked off a former state champion in Hawthorne a couple of weeks ago. This team is definitely in the schedule. These are all winnable games for the Seminoles. So I think they're putting things together with that young team. Next 5 out for me, I have the Cougars. Man, I really like what they've done on offense. Their quarterback has been playing absolutely on another planet right now. And then, of course, you got Perriman on defense. Has been doing a great job there. They can put some things together defensively to kind of keep the opponents out of the end zone. This is a team that could definitely see themselves in the top 10 towards the end of the year. Same thing for Walton. This team, again, don't pay attention to the record because this team is figuring things out very quickly. Had a great win last week, and I look for the Braves to move up very soon. Franklin County, man, I just had to show some love to the Seahawks, man. They're doing a phenomenal job down there on the beach. Had a great conversation with Coach Cooper. His playmakers have really come together, and this is a team that was 0-10 last year. So now they're 4-0. Great win against Liberty earlier in the week. And I look for this team to really make some noise. They've got winnable games on their schedule, but it's going to be tough going down the stretch. Jefferson County, I got to show some love to the Tigers too because, man, another team that was dormant last year that's really making a lot of noise. Really like what's happening out there in Monticello. Something must be in the water because right behind them I have Alcilla Christian, and those are my next 5 out.
Ooh.
Well,
agree to disagree.
I think Taylor County is a little too high. But that'll shake out later when they play Bunstown. You need a little work on that. I think watch some of these teams play, and the bad thing about college and high school is the teams don't play each other. A lot of teams don't play each other, and I'd probably move Ricketts up a little higher. I think they're one of the better teams. They're just a little young. Ran into a buzzsaw at Mosley. Condell, I got to see them play a solid football team before I move them up that high. They're a very good football team right now, but the records of the teams that they played are not very good. Holmes and Chipley, pretty decent teams, I think. Wakulla probably the only loss they got is Taylor County. Probably could move them up a little bit too. I mean, these be some pretty good football teams. All these teams got good records.
Yeah, my approach was power ranking because I felt like if for the teams that got the juice, like and depending on who you played, that might shake some things out a little bit. But man, this was a hard list to put together. It wasn't easy. I think the biggest thing about it was taking into consideration like consecutive victories, and then also who did you lose to. So a lot of that went into my factoring. But I look at teams moving up and down as being a way to be able to tell, like, hey, we're getting the job done in consecutive weeks. So
it's your opinion. It doesn't matter.
So what was like your biggest thing, Mark? So one thing that you kind of hang your hat on with these, maybe like the baseboard of it. Give us a behind the veil.
Man, honestly, I think it was really just that consecutive victories and who did you play? you know, I think a lot of it is like, you know, yeah, it might seem unfair, but I do look at certain teams where you could easily flip-flop a lot of them based on record, based on, you know, similar opponents, things of that nature. But I just look at, I think the biggest thing with a power ranking is who's hot. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The hotter you get, it's more so the quality of teams you're beating, who you're going up against. And you know, Coach, I really kind of I think Wakulla could definitely move up a little bit in this list, considering things. But you know, this is what I came up with.
Hey, it's just your opinion. Don't worry about
it. So now we let's move on. Let's jump down.
Get off the mark is what he said.
He wants to get out the hot seat, Coach.
No, I like what I put together. I do think that this is my biggest thing though. I think by the time you get to week number 6, this list is going to be completely obliterated. True. You're going to see a lot of teams really, you know, take advantage of the next couple of weeks because the contest, I mean, a lot of teams' schedule is backloaded. And, you know, of course, for quite a few teams, especially Gaston County, Madison, like their schedules don't fall off. It's going to be another top-ranked opponent next week. So, but, yeah, we'll see because a lot of these teams play each other in the next next week. So we've got one big contest between Taylor and Bluntstown coming up in just in a couple of days in week number 5. So yeah, we're gonna see how this works. But I'm standing on it.
Hey,
everybody got my email address. You know how to add me.
Don't write me. I don't care.
Because they gotta text you.
I like it. So Mark, my thing is, you got your 2 undefeateds down at the bottom. Next 5 out, you got Franklin 4-0, and then you got Osceola 4-0. What's the rationale there?
I had to weigh into consideration who you were playing, and I do look at Osceola as like putting together a fantastic season, but the level of competition, I don't think they've played a team with a winning record thus far. So you know. Now that may change, you know, as you get to be 6-0 and 7-0, because putting together a string of victories like that, winning is winning. It don't matter. But through the first 4 games, I think that, you know, quality of your opponent kind of still weighs out a little bit. For Franklin, you know, just in all honesty, I think that Liberty win really impressed me because Liberty, you know, being an 0-4 team that they are, they're still very impressive. I think they got a lot of weapons there. I think it just has a lot to do with, you know, just looking at, you know, again, what is that schedule going to be looking like and who have you already played? So for Franklin, I think they got a couple more winnable games there. I know Coach was telling me that their schedule's backloaded and they got a lot of tough opponents, but I think how they're playing, you know, I look at like, you know, hey, knock off one of those other teams, you know, on that list, and I definitely got you guys moving up. So.
Mark, I think you figured that next 5 out so you can put Gabi in there. He made up a system where he can put his high school in there. I'm letting everybody know you're a Cougar through and through. So, but it's not much argument. I think they're a pretty good team anyway. So just had to.
I like how you snuck that in on the end. I appreciate that.
You did too. You stuck the Cougars in at the
end. Having said that, if playoffs started today, they would be district champs. So,
yeah, that is true. Through 4 games.
With 1 game played, they're the only team that's played besides Swanee in the
facts.
Champs.
Facts. Hey, it's the system they got.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, dude, you ready?
We easing on.
Coach is next, right?
Nah.
All right, let's do it. I'll go in. Save the best for last. I like leaving Coach.
He said you set yours up so we couldn't get any. You know, you split them up. Hey, I understand.
All right, Jupe. I like. This was the other part of the discussion. So we got a big school and a small school. So we debated heavily over power ranking, or do we just split the teams? We got so many schools that I would say that it's kind of like one of those things where it's just split unevenly. We got more smaller schools, in our area than we do larger schools. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you jump into it.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of went with the split. So I love the fact that we're just like, hey, figure it out, do whatever you want. And then we can all kind of rationalize it and just shred everybody else or leave that open to discussion. So I like the big school, small school. I don't really like that terminology, so to speak, but a lot of people use it. So I did 2A and lower and or 3A and higher. So that's kind of my split. So there's some based on the classification. I would like to move them around, but that's the game we're playing, right? So
Yes.
main focus that I went into it is, so power rankings is the term, but I like to spin it as the juice rankings.
All
So
right.
the main question is, do they have the juice? Do they have it going on?
What is juice? What's the
Exactly.
juice?
So the beauty of that is completely subjective, or subjective, excuse me. But I like win streaks and momentum is one of my top things. It's kind of
All
like a
right.
power rankings, but then there's a little more of like a wild card factor. I love you get a lot of wins, you go up. You get wins. Coach says it all the time. You get wins and then you get more wins. So if you're winning, you got the juice. If you're on a win streak, you got the juice. If you have losses, it's like some of the juice spilled out of the cup, right? And
Right.
also
I get
looking at
that.
like trends. If you're on the come up, kind of like you talked about Florida High, on the come up, if you've got some momentum going, if you've got a young team that's kind of getting it going, also a little strength of schedule in there. Plus, I like teams that play a fun brand of ball. So I threw a little style points in there as kind of a tertiary thing. Um, so all that to say is, do you have the juice? So we'll go to the small schools, which, like we said, is going to be 2A or lower. Number one, I got undefeated Mariana with your boy Clemens running back Mark. And then I got Taylor County,
Okay.
number 3, Cottondale, Chipley. So you see the big chunk there, the undefeated squads.
Yep.
And then I couldn't leave Gadsden out of the top 5. I think they're too big and bad. And then I got Franklin and Osceola getting it 6-7. Madison rounding it out. I did an arbitrary 8. I felt like 8 was a good number with my split. And then I have like a kind of like an NCAA situation, a little
On the
outside
bubble.
looking in. Yeah, bubble teams.
Yep.
So I've got Jeffco, who's got 3 out of 4, Bluntstown, Florida High, and McClay. So I guess we can kind of stick it with the small schools. I like Mariana. They're scoring a lot of points. They're playing good defense. They got the juice. I think similar for Taylor County. Cottondale, same thing. Strength of schedule, I know, kind of comes into the argument, but they can put up some points, and they got ballers. When you have ballers, like Coach always says, you can win ball games. So they got the juice because they got some ballers. You play good defense, Chipley, you got the juice. Gadsden County's got ballers, they got the juice. And that's kind of my rundown with the other squads here in my quote unquote smaller school.
All
Juice rankings.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have any qualms except for man, we're gonna have to keep them people from Havana from looking for you. Yeah, I think that's my only thing. I would have you saw where I had gas and how they were playing. So but I respect it though. Everything else, I like the juice concept. I really feel in the way you implemented everything and the kind of different tangents you use to kind of track it. So I don't know. I look at the bigger schools and I'm like, it gets kind of sparse because we just don't have that many. So I don't know if you'd be willing to expand it, but I think that would have to include like maybe a Columbia or whoever else kind of fits that category.
Yeah, if we dip in there, because I know Columbia wasn't on our initial list,
Mhm.
so that's why I don't have them in here. And also, I mean, I kind of want to expand it, but at the same time, like if you're not 500, like get to 500, and then we can talk about getting in some rankings. So
Okay.
that was kind of a criteria for me. I didn't want to be ranking like teams that were 1-4 in a couple weeks, Mark.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my big approach. But out of practice, I've been doing on the side of top 25. So for the record, Gadsden, after they beat McCauley, whatever they're called, in Tennessee, I had Gadsden actually number 1 on top of Mosley for what it's worth. So, but yeah, I don't cross the border much. I stay here in Leon County. Hopefully that's enough of a buffer, Mark, so people can't hold me
No,
down.
Yeah, I think it's a interesting concept though.
And the only thing I got with you, Gaston County, I think they're the best 3-1 team in the whole area because they play a competition. They play this. There's nobody in this area playing that kind of competition day week in and week out. And I think for them to just have one loss is unbelievable to me because I've seen some of the teams they play, and you follow up, and the records of the teams they play are pretty good. So that's the only thing. Since you broke it down to small schools and big schools, that's the only thing I would say. Because I think they probably can. The teams that they face, and last week in the game in Coffee County, that's one of the best teams in Georgia, and they were in the game until the end. And they played. They wasn't mismatch or anything. They hanging tough. So that's the only school, And then Bluntstown, you kind of. I think they're pretty daggone good anyway. Myself.
I think I can see what you're saying. They only played 2 games. That's not quite as enough juice, as a 4-0 team. So I get that.
He can't go there. He can't go down there to the game. I know it. They're not even ranked. So
that's why I have Mark do the reservations. I don't want to throw my name in there.
Hey.
Shut that down. Close that door.
Hey, I'm showing up anyway because I think the thing about it is that like we put together these things, but a lot of times what people don't realize is that like there's not really a strong voice up here advocating for the entire state because a lot of these teams should be ranked in the state rankings and they're not even getting votes or anything like that. So for me, I think it's cool that we actually go ahead and rank our teams at least to some degree because nobody else is really showing them love across the state. So, and there are definitely a lot of teams on this list that are state worthy, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. All right, you ready? You finna take center stage, Coach.
I don't know. How did Gabi get
that? Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I missed that. I didn't scroll down far enough. Gabi on the outside looking in. Okay.
I'm like, wait a minute.
There you go. So they got the
I was going to ask, I said, where's Arnold? But I didn't see the bottom of the list. Yeah, that's my fault.
Yeah. So those are my big schools. Obviously, Mosley Lincoln, 1-2. I got Rick because I liked the fight. I thought the Gabi win was big. Really, the only loss is to Mosley. It was a tough loss, of course. But, I mean, like we said, they're one of the best teams in the state. They should be getting more love. And then, you got Arnold with the 1 loss last week. And then Gabi chipping away. But they got the 500, so I can get them on the outside looking at bubble team with a chance to jump up there. Wakulla on the swing up like Florida High. Young team. I think they're getting it going, and you can start to see the gear shifting, especially on defense, which I like. So that's one of my lower kind of things. But I think Wakulla's filling up the glass here. A little more juice than what I thought beginning of the season.
I'm okay with this. I think that there's a lot that's still left to be decided. But yeah, Arnold definitely took a stumble last week. But I like the juice concept. I do.
Oh, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. May I present to you the poll for week number 5 presented by Coach Cofield. Long-awaited list.
Hey.
Much debated list.
You see my argument.
All right, explain your rankings.
I got the guts. I don't have the juice. It's my gut from what I see. I was starting off, I guess, unanimous as Mosley because all of us seen Mosley play. I hadn't seen anybody come close to him yet. And Lincoln Trojans, I mean, with the 3 of us, there's not very many arguments about that. Now we go up to Mariana. I like the way they play. I think I watched 2 games of theirs, and I was really impressed. I wasn't expecting them to be this good this year, but for right now, they're pretty daggone good. And then I got gas, and I was debating whether to put them at 3rd. Next week be a shake because they play each other on it later on in the season, so I think that'll shake out. And then the beautiful, beautiful Rickers Raiders, They got a very young team, Quentin Lewis over there. He's excited about the group. He likes them, and I think they can only get better. Then you got Bluntstein. I'm the game I saw them. I was very impressed. I saw one game with Chipley, and I think those teams are pretty even with Taylor County and Wakulla. There's no way Wakulla could be over Taylor because they beat them. I thought they were a pretty good team in Madison County. I think they're pretty. They're always good. They're always good. Conde's on the come up. They're on the come up. They're a team that they're getting better and better. I was impressed with what I seen, but I need to see them play a little better competition. Holmes County, always good. I think they had a great record last year, lost like in the second round of the playoffs. Franklin is on the move, on the come up. Is one of the better teams. I watched them I watched them on Monday. Pretty impressive. They put up a lot of points. They gave up 28, but they put up 35 on their own. So I didn't know what to say because Coach was a little talking to him before the game. He was a little nervous about it. I don't know why, but he was nervous about it. When you play a team that's had won a game, it's kind of difficult. All you got to do is get a little lead on them, and you're hoping they put their heads down. Then you have Arnold, impressed with the beginning of the season. They squeaked one out over Bay, and I was surprised. I watched the game between South Walton. I was kind of surprised that they lost that game, but hey, they would have been higher had they won the game. And Walton, probably got one of the better passing quarterbacks in the area with Benhausen. And I like what they can do. They put up a lot of points. They almost 50 points a game, but their defense is giving up a lot of points. So that's my list. Okay.
All right. I see the argument though. I really do. I see your argument, but I'm definitely putting Gasson up.
Mariana.
Yeah.
They gonna play, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
That'll solve that problem.
No, is that Taylor? No, that's Taylor and Gasson in the same district.
Oh, it used to be that Mariana and Gasson used to be.
Yeah, it used to be.
He wants it, Coach.
He wants something.
No, I'm trying to figure out because I'm looking at it and I'm like,
okay, so you go in like
there's an argument for every team though. So I'm like, because my list is somewhat similar.
I know, I saw it.
Yeah, with the exception of Rickers, I don't have Rickers up that high. I feel like
it's kind of ended.
And it's nothing against the Raiders. I feel like the thing that held Rickers back was that they let some teams that they really could have put away 40, 50, and they let them crawl back in the game. And I feel like
Mark, W's and L's, it don't matter. You win by
it's a dub. I can see it both ways.
At the end of 100 years from now, all you know is they lost or they won. It don't matter how many points they put up.
So, Coach, are you doing like a head-to-head? So just so I understand criteria, did you situate it like these are your top dogs? So, for example,
it's what the ancestors told him, Drew.
So if Cottondale played Arnold, you'd pick Cottondale. Am I understanding that correctly or not?
Right now, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you're going kind of top dogs, like a pseudo AP.
I saw Arnold playing. They're not putting up a lot of points, so Cottondale is putting up like 50 points a game dang near. So I don't know if you can stop that quarterback. His defense is going to have to make things.
And the thing is that we won't see Cottondale play and Arnold. Like we won't see them. No. Match up. We can only really speculate, but I'm guessing this is just what you were able to pull out, like you said, from your gut.
So, yeah, from your gut.
Okay, so
you eat pretty clean too. Like you eat pretty clean. So I
Coach, if Rick beats Colquitt this weekend, Does Rick have an argument for number 2 in your rankings?
No.
No. Okay, could they go number 3?
They can probably move up with the 3.
I'm gonna tell you the game that's gonna change a lot. It's Bluntstown and Taylor.
Oh yeah, for sure. That
game,
Bluntstown, of course.
Yeah,
we ought to.
Who did I pick yesterday? I can't remember who I picked. I think I went.
You went with Taylor County.
I went with Taylor. Yeah,
I think you went Taylor. Yeah,
I'm the only one picked Bluntstown.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Coach. My one thing, 9-10. You have Wakulla over Madison. Was the Lincoln game kind of that Chief one, or where was your breakdown there?
I just felt like they were better. It's just my gut. I think they will win that game.
Okay.
Watching the game, Lincoln looked so opportunistic. They just capitalized on what seemed like every big play. It wasn't that Madison. They just were. It's like they were caught off guard, and then boom, boom, boom. It's like the game was out of hand. And I think that's the one thing I kept trying to figure out, trying to break down what happened to Madison in that game. Like you look at Lincoln, I think they had 2 pick sixes in the game. So I think that was credit to their. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I saw.
One thing, Mark, like 9-10, I think it depending on who's home, will make a big difference.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Those are some difficult places to play, and if Wakulla was the home team, you might. I'll pick them.
I think that's why we have Lincoln where they are. It was because they beat Madison. Part of what's in that argument for putting Lincoln at number 2 is that they beat Madison at Boo Hill. So that's like that. I don't think that's happened in a very, very long time. I think you have to go back like maybe I don't know how many years. You would have to go back maybe to the 90s or something like that. I don't remember a Tallahassee team beating Madison in Madison. I think Florida High came close, but I don't recall them. Did Florida High knock them off at Madison one year?
I think they might have got them 3 years ago, 21.
Yeah.
Did Rick get them back in like Marcus Riley era, like 18?
They got them at home.
They got a whole bunch of people.
They got them. I know they got them at home, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think they.
But still, even saying that between those 4 schools, I think Gabi, I think Gabi beat Madison like that was in the mid 2000s, somewhere in there.
Man, it's kind of funny. You always find a way to throw Gabi up in the conversation.
Of course. I'm not even hiding now. But no, I think that given the teams that they've played, and they don't, just given how many teams that this is going back to almost to the McPherson era. Like they ain't been ducking anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Who? Talking about Gabi?
No, I'm talking about Madison.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they played almost anybody. It's similar to me what Gaston County is doing right now. They playing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the motto because they will be playoff ready. Like there's no question.
They're taking all the calls from all the schools. If they got a spot, look like Gaston County will play.
Well, I remember media day. I think he knew what he had. Like I think that was very evident.
I think they got like 4 or 5 D1s on the team. So
I don't even know about. I think he just looked at how I mean that's a lot of playmakers that came together on that team. There's a lot of guys that's from the area, and then there's a lot of guys that came in via transfer. But that's still, you got to put a team together. That's still they're still one of the most dominant right now.
There probably a few teams that can play in the Florida and Georgia playoffs because they beat up on Georgia teams. He goes anywhere. I'm impressed with how they do what they do, going all the Southeast playing football game.
All right, so this is what I propose. I think we should merge these 3 lists together, see what we come up with. We'll see how that we'll call that the I guess the computer ranking or whatever. We'll average it out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this will change next week. But we're gonna see. We're gonna let the people argue for at least another 6 days before we try this again.
There you go. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? Especially, I think, Mark, we've got kind of a similar power rankings, which are more, I think, privy to like volatile jumps. Maybe you see teams when they get it going, then they rock it up, but then you take the L and, you know, you kind of go up and down, which I think will be fun.
Yeah, I think this will be one of those things where we get a chance to like really, really hash this out. But we definitely gonna let the people talk about it for a minute. Coach, you ready? You don't have to stand on business next week and this week.
I don't care.
Going with your gut.
I've been doing this stuff for a long time, man. And you wouldn't believe some of the letters I've gotten in the past from people about my opinions.
I believe it. I believe
it. As long as they just write a letter, or email, or text or something, I got no problem. But, you know, as long as you don't get mad, it's just a game. It's just my opinion, okay?
Yeah, Coach, I was going to say, I'm glad you said emails and texts and stuff, because I was going to say, for the young people, what are letters? The young audience member.
No, the DM going to be trashed. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of messages. The comments going to be lit on this one, so it's going to be fun. All right, well, guys, we're going to catch up next week for another edition of The Extra Point. I hope everybody gets a chance to enjoy the rankings, but until then, Mark Adams from 4 Quarters Online and my tag team partners, Coach Cofield and Andrew Jupe. We'll catch everybody next week.